His Grace Harisori Das. This is the volume of November 1975 to April 1976. And I'll start here. During his massage, this is page 370, middle of the page. During his massage, Prabhupada heard two reports sent by Rupanuga. Rupanuga had enclosed a newspaper article describing a major victory in our attempts to preach in the universities. Gobhira Das in Washington, D.C., after a battle with the university authorities, has now been accepted as an authorized chaplain. He has now been given an office on campus for counseling the students. Srila Prabhupada was very, very happy to read the article, and he sent a letter to Gabhira to congratulate him for his efforts. Prabhupada sees this as an important breakthrough in our preaching work. He asked Rupanuga to continue to do the same in other universities. Rupanuga also informed Prabhupada that Ravinda Swarup from Philadelphia had just successfully completed his oral examinations for a PhD in religion. Prabhupada was pleased to hear this and told him that we need many PhDs for the new Bhaktivedanta Institute. As far as the temples in Rupanuga's zone are concerned, they all seem to be going well, with significant increases in book distribution. Even within the courts in Atlanta, the devotees have won respect for the preaching activities. He told Prabhupada that a federal court judge there had remarked that he had never, during his history on the bench, seen such religious fervor. The judge said that it was a new phenomenon in America, and he did not know exactly how to deal with it. We have had preachers, the judge said, but these people are at it 12 hours per day, 365 days a year. I've never seen anything like it. At one point in the court proceedings, the judge asked the city attorney whether he was willing to argue that Krishna consciousness was not a genuine religion. "Oh no," came the reply. "I am not at all willing to argue that point." The Atlanta Temple has a new farm project in Tennessee which provides them with milk. Prabhupada was pleased to hear this. He commented that all our temples should have an auxiliary farm to provide them with milk, vegetables, flowers, and fruits. So I'll stop here. This is the middle of page 300. Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 1, which is entitled Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. And we start with the verse, text 23, which has no purport. So we will also read text 24, which has a short purport. So text 23 is on the board. You may repeat after me line by line. Tat Prabhur Bhava, translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sage was standing on one leg, but as soon as he saw that the three deities had appeared before him, he was so pleased to see them all together that despite great difficulty he approached them on one leg. Text 24. Pranamya dandavat bhuma upattashte horhamjali vrishahamsa suparnashtan svai svash chihnais cha chitita. And this means, thereafter he began to offer prayers to the three deities who were seated on different carriers, a bull, a swan, and Garuda, and who held in their hands a drum, kusha grass, and a discus. The sage offered them his respects by falling down like a stick. Report by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. danda means a long rod, and vat means like. Before a superior, one has to fall down on the ground just like a stick. And this sort of offering of respect is called a dandavat. Atri Rishi offered his respect to the three deities in that way. They were identified by their different carriers and different symbolic representations. In that connection, it is stated here that Lord Vishnu was sitting on Garuda, a big aquiline bird. The word aquiline means like an eagle. And was carrying in his hand a disc. Brahma was sitting on a swan and had in his hand kusha grass. And Lord Shiva was sitting on a bull and carrying in his hand a small drum called a damaru. Atri Rishi recognized them by their symbolic representations and different carriers, and thus he offered them prayers and respects. Mukam karoti bachalam mangam layate grima kripit rahmane shri. So in this second of the two verses, text 24, svaish svaish chitnais cha chitnitan, that Atri Rishi recognized the deities by their symbols. The word chihna means symbol or symptom, and it is a word that appears in several quite important places in different shastras. For example, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world, then Sachimata's father, whose name is Nilambar Chakravarti, observing this newborn child, he confided to Jagannath Mishra that he was seeing within this child what are termed in Chaitanya Charitamrita as Mahaprabhu Hera China, the symptoms, the indications that this child is not ordinary. This child is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In another place in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, we find the personality of Kali is described there as Nirdeva Chinadrik. Nirdeva is a word, Naradeva actually. So a king is actually in Vedic culture, a king is called Naradeva, which means among human beings, he's in the position of a deva, demigod, or the king is representative of God in human society, by his power, by his authority. even a Malecha king, because this is pointed out by Srila Prabhupada, how Sri Sanatana Goswami was still respecting Nawab Hussain Shah. Nawab Hussain Shah wanted Sanatana Goswami to serve in his government, go on doing his government service, but Sanatana Goswami refused. He said, I cannot do this anymore. I want to study Srimad Bhagavatam, prepare myself to go meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and surrender to him. And so Nawab Hussain Shah became very angry, and he placed Sanatana Goswami under house arrest. And Sanatana Goswami said, that is your right, because you are the king, and as such you are the representative of the Lord. So I have to accept this imprisonment as the will of the Lord. So this is a position of king in society, not a deva. So the personality of Kali is described as Nirdeva China. That he, Nirdeva China Drik, was appearing, bearing or wearing the symbols, the symbolic clothing of a king. He had crown, he had royal garments, royal ornaments. But the complete line in this verse, Nirdevachina Drik Sudrako, he was actually the lowest of the Shudras, actually a most low-class person. But he had taken on the symbols of king, and in that dress he was daring to cause harm to the Dharma on 4 legs, cow and bull. So, and for that reason he was chastised by Maharaj Parikshit. And then this in turn reminds us of Paundraka, the king at the time of Lord Krishna, who also took up these symbols, as mentioned here. The discus he was bearing, discus of Lord Vishnu, as well as the gada, the club, and the shankha, the conch shell, and the padma, the lotus. And he was wearing the pitambara, the yellow cloth of the Lord, Vajayanti mala, crown just like Lord Vasudev, Kashtuba gem, Srivatsa. All of this chinna, these symbols he had taken on for himself because he was under the delusion that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the incarnation of the Lord for that time. And he even challenged Lord Krishna that you are in an unauthorized way taking up these symbols. I am actually Vasudev, not you. And so they met on a battlefield. And when Krishna saw this Paundraka, he began to laugh. Because, of course, it was fakery. He was so deluded that he believed it. But it was obviously fakery. So, these, of course, the symbolic representations are there mentioned in the Shastras, but also it requires intelligence to understand who is the real bearer of these symbols. In the Kali Yuga, people are very easily misled due to lack of intelligence. We find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is mentioned there. Nice narrative is given that at the Kaliyadaha, Lord Chaitanya was sitting there for some days in Vrindavan Dham at Kaliyadaha. And people were going by in great numbers because it was being rumored, or word was spreading, that Lord Krishna appears at night on the Jamuna river. And people claim to be able to see Krishna dancing on the heads of the Kaliya serpent. And Lord Chaitanya's own assistant, servant, Balabhadra Bhattacharya, hearing this, he also requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, may I go at night with these people to see Lord Krishna? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, don't be a fool. Don't you know that Lord Krishna does not appear in the Kali age? So the next day, some aristocratic persons came by and they offered their humble obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so in a kind of joking mood, Lord Chaitanya, he asked them, so, have you come to see Krishna? And he was referring to this supposed appearance of Krishna in the Jamuna. So, these aristocratic persons, they told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that this is just some fantasy. There is a fisherman. At night he comes out on his boat and he holds up a torch. And this is to attract fish, so he can catch the fish in his net. And from the shore people see this and they imagine that this is Krishna dancing on the heads of Kaliya. And so they're all flocking to see this, but it is all nonsense. But then these gentlemen went on to say, but Krishna is here in Vrindavan now. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, how is that? And they said, because you are You are sannyasi, therefore you are Jangama Narayan. That means moving Narayan. So this is the Mayavadi idea, that someone takes on the dress of a sannyasi and they become Narayan just by wearing this symbolic cloth. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he refuted that very, very strongly. And then the gentlemen, they gained intelligence by the Lord's chastisement. The Lord Chaitanya was arguing that Jiva is always Jiva, even if he takes sannyas. He does not become the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And their reply was, well, that is so, but we are not saying that you are Jiva. And so they pointed out that there are two ways of understanding that you, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Akriti and Prakriti. These are the two terms that are used. Akriti and Prakriti. So Akriti means direct bodily symptoms. That you are looking exactly like Brajananda and Kumar, except your complexion is golden. Otherwise you have all the features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your person. And then Prakriti means your characteristics. Beyond the bodily features, there are the characteristics. And so they pointed out that whoever sees you, whoever hears you chanting the holy name, they may be a woman, they may be old person, they may be even Malecha or Yavana, whoever they may be, their hearts become flooded with love of Krishna, and moreover, they become so purified, such saintly persons, that they can then act as spiritual masters and deliver the whole world. Even though formerly they have been Chandalas, dog eaters. And so this is the evidence that these gentlemen offered to establish that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this evidence is very good. The chinna, the symbols and things like that, particularly in the Kali age, as we have seen, they can be juggled, they can be misrepresented. There are so many persons now in India, have been for so long, coming out and claiming by this or that symbol or symptom that they are the Supreme Lord. But palena parichite, we have to judge by these results that these gentlemen have mentioned. The akriti and particularly prakriti, nature characteristics. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he proves himself, the pal, the result is there, showing that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually the avatar of this age, because he is delivering the world by this Sankirtan, congregational chanting of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
And by this chanting, a transcendental revolution is unleashed, and as these gentlemen described, persons from the lowest order of society are completely transformed. And that evidence, that prakriti, that nature, is evident in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada's movement, as it spreads throughout the world, going to every country, to every climate, among all kinds of people, whatever racial classification or whatever religious background, whatever language they may speak. But we see practically that people from everywhere are uplifted to that standard. They're transformed from fallen souls in the category of Leche, Yavana, these Kali Yuga categories, and brought up to the platform of sadhu, a saintly person. And so much so that even they're able to deliver others. Yadadeke Tarakaha Krishna Upadesh, by preaching Krishna's Upadesh, Krishna's message. Then Tandra Adesh, they're able to deliver the people of their land. So these are the real symptoms. As Prabhupada explained, it is useless to try to embark on some comparative study of superficial symptoms. Like Prabhupada gave the example of tree. I notice here you have lots of nice trees. Yeah, so superficially all trees look the same. And that is one type of intellectualism. You see, to so-called intellectual people, they compare the superficial similarities of religions or religious teachers. Well, you say this, and they also say that, and this and that. And this. But Srila Prabhupada said you have to judge by the fruit. It's not enough just to say, oh, this tree looks like that tree. But you finally have to judge it by the fruit. And even this is in the New Testament spoken by Lord Jesus. You know a tree. You know a tree by its fruit. So Prabhupada said the same thing. Apple tree. How do you know what an apple tree is? You look for the fruit, apple. So this is the way to see, ultimately, by the fruit. So in any case, Atri Rishi, by his great tapasya and determination, and by his prayers were answered by the Trimurti, this threefold deity, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva appearing, and he recognized them by their carriers, bull, swan and Garuda, and by this China, the symptoms, the symbols in their hands, drum, carried by Lord Shiva, Kusha grass, which is used in sacrifice, carried by Lord Brahma, and the Surasham chakra, which is the weapon of Lord Vishnu. So tomorrow you're going on to text 25. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? Or comments? Anything? No? Alright then. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.